We just pulled up, fixing to do a little camping. We underestimated the water. We got some flooding here, but got my tripod I'm finna set up so I can do some filming. Blowed down tree. We found a hill down in here. Good bit of dry land, a lot of wood. We're gonna find us a place to set up camp. Got our Alice pack. Now we're camping, we're not surviving. We got a cooler, but now we ain't got a lot in the cooler. We didn't bring a lot of luxuries, but being we had a conveyance and a way to carry it, we just brought some ice and 2 jugs of water. We didn't bring any food as far as meat and all that kind of stuff. We're gonna try to catch us some fish. We do have some ramen noodles if it push comes to shove and we don't come up with nothing, but Roscoe, he's hunting. He's checking everything out. Good to have somebody to camp with. Alright, we're fixing to get set up.
I was going to see us for leaves and stuff. Maybe I don't.
cotton ball rubbed in Vaseline. In this swamp, there's not a lot of tinder. I'm actually on a little island that's probably 3-4 acres maybe. While the water's up. When the water goes down, it's land, but it's just hard to find tinder down in here. So when you're coming into an area like this and you know you're going camping, I like to practice whatever skills that I can. But I take that with me. I did have some fat pine, and I could have probably easy enough made some tinder with it. None of this stuff is really wet, but most of it is got some moisture in it. It's not dry as a bone down here. But easy enough, we've got fire. We just basically come down here to get away. The world's going crazy right now. I'd rather not be a part of it if I didn't have to. Hopefully I won't. We've got plenty of firewood. I'm going to take the camera for a second. Take it off the tripod and show you around. I've got my setup here. Log, everything's kind of blocked in right here. Have an easy escape back out this way. Look, laying here. Immediately here's a lot of small wood, but we've got this whole tree and then a couple of big huge limbs. Now that is a birch tree, if I'm not mistaken. Huge tree. I'm sure there's a raccoon or something asleep up in that hole. Beautiful place down here though. Gathered up some limbs this morning, putting on this fire. See if we can blow it back into. Last night I cut a pretty good sized log and laid on the back of it, so we'd have some coals this morning and it'd burn somewhat through the night. Of course, I knew it wasn't going to burn that big log completely up. It went out. But we've still got a good bed of coals here. Get some small. There we go. Easy enough. Roscoe done run off on me this morning. He went to see if he could find him a squirrel, I think. That dog loves to chase squirrels. I want to show you something this morning. See this knife? Let me back my camera up just a little bit. Just wanted to show some of the gear that I carry. This knife here, I made this knife. I made the holster, every bit of it. This is a hollow handle knife. As kids, most of us watched Rambo. I wanted a knife that had a hollow handle, and I made this. This right here blade is made from a saw blade, one of those big circular saw blades. And it's pretty thick. It's probably 1/8 of an inch thick. I did a short grind on it because I didn't want a real fine edge. Now back here, for a little ways on the back of this knife, I've got it ground up a little bit shallower. That way it's more for fine if I want to do whittling and cutting, but I use this for a machete. I keep my regular 5.5 inch blade knife on my side most of the time. I took it off sleeping. I don't have it on right now. But this, I put a gut hook on the end of it. I welded this a piece of threaded pipe on there and wrapped it in leather and stitched that leather down for a hollow handle. I just put a few things in there, mainly some fishing equipment. I think there's some fire starter, but now what I did is I took a piece of wire, and I can get that piece of wire easy enough with my finger. May have to get a twig to get it, but it's right there. because you can't just pull the stuff out of it. But I'll show you. See, I got this piece of string. It's a piece of wire, actually. What that wire does is help you get a hold of some of this and the line where you can pull this stuff out. And I've got wrapped up down in there some more hooks, but I just got a cork, wrap some line around it. See if I can get the other stuff out. Oh yeah, it's coming out. You don't want it where it's falling out. I didn't intend to make it to take it out all the time, but I wanted to show you. I should have probably pulled it out before I did the video. You can see right there it's almost out. I had the wire under it too. Supposed to pull it out with a wire, but it didn't. When I pushed that cork down in there, I pushed it in too far. Didn't quite work as the way I wanted it to. But in a survival situation, I can still get it out. I don't need to hit it on that soft stuff. I have it all gummed up with stuff. You get my other knife, I can get it out right quick. This is some of the stuff I carry. This is a Kershaw. I don't like a serrated blade, but that's what I wound up with. That's one of those knives I acquired. Found it in an old shed, actually. I knew whose it was. They packed up and left town and left a bunch of their stuff, so naturally I rummaged through it and got what I wanted. See, in this, I got a little Ziploc bag. I got a little piece of fire starter in there off of a, cut me a chunk off one of them big fire logs. You know, you buy them little fire bricks to build fire. I just cut pieces of that off because it'll give me a couple of minutes of burn time. I can light it with a lighter if I can't find any good tinder. On the back of this knife, you noticed I was using it for a saw. When I made it, what I did is I took a grinding blade, and then I took a triangle file to define it a little more. Just cleaning some of the bark out of it where you could see it better, but I just ground on opposite sides, alternating going down, and what it did, it don't make a teeth sticking up, but it allows me, and you're not gonna saw through a tree with it, but if I want to make notches for rope and this and that and the other, it works good for that. I'm gonna see if I can wrap this back around this stuff, where next time I can get it out a little easier. And then see if I can push this. And this is my trusty old pocket knife. I found this on the side of the road. Now I've got some new stuff that I've bought, but for some reason I tend to favor something that I've fixed, repaired. I like to save stuff that's garbage to most other folks, and then that's what I naturally wind up toting around. This is a three blade case knife. I found it laying on the side of the road, and I made me this is sycamore wood. Made me a handle, another scale on one side, and it's got the factory handle on that side. And that's one of my knives that I keep in my pocket every day. Screw the lid back on this. I'm going to show you a little more about my knife here. I may ought to put some more wood on that fire. I was thinking about making me a little pot of coffee, or a cup of coffee. There comes old Roscoe back. He ain't got no grits yet. I think I'm gonna cook me some grits. I got some instant grits. Alright, in here, I made all this, so I made it like I wanted. What I did right here is I put me a spear point. Now, yeah, it's rusted all up. I'm gonna have to figure out some way to cure it. Good steel rust, and I need to blue it or something where it don't rust. But I made me a spear point to keep in there if I need to make me a spear. I've got a wet rock slid down in here. It's just part of a sharpening stone. And right here, this is one of them old cheap Walmart. Got the little ferrocerium rod with a magnesium block on it. Slid in there. I don't use that. You see me pull the one out of my other knife and use yesterday. It's for an emergency. It's if I get in a bind. But now, I like this knife. This knife is really sharp and it really holds an edge good. I'll show you some more of my knives later on, but I made a couple of bowies out of this same saw blade. And in fact, my other knife that I carry, that I use for my bushcrafting knife most of the time, is made out of the same saw blade. They hold an edge really well, sharp. But this is, I like a big knife. I use it for a machete. It keeps me from, and I have machetes. I love my machete. But I like this knife. This part of it, we're all kids in the woods still playing. We were one of the last generations that grew up playing outside. And we like knives, and we grew up on Rambo, and I like a big knife to carry with me. If I was going to have to walk a long ways, I would cut a lot of the stuff that I've got down probably. But being I paddled in here on a canoe, it didn't make me much difference. I could bring pretty well whatever I wanted to. Show you my other knife that I made while we talking about knives. I don't care that stuff's fancy or not, as long as it's functional. This is a knife I usually keep on my side. And I made me a Ranger band out of a bicycle inner tube to hold my ferrocerium rod. And then I put me a long lanyard on it to where when I got ready to pull it off, it'll loop around through there. So there's no way that I can lose that. I'll show you how I did it. Alright, so you pull that up like this. And then this drops down and loops around. So basically I just get this other lanyard out of the way. Basically I just run it through the inside of my belt loop, come down and looped it around the knife, and then I pulled it tight right there. So to keep it from flopping, I put it on this right here. That somewhat keeps it in place for me. This knife, I got a little bit of a grind back here on the spine of this, but that's a 90-degree spine on the back of there. It throws a spark really well. It's a good sharp knife. I got it, it drops down, you see, on the bottom right here. I like that. I like a wider blade if I want to scrape, if I want to use it for a spatula and leave stuff on it, whatever. But I really like this knife. Well, I'm gonna cut this off. We're gonna get set up and do some scouting around. There's a lot of mushrooms on this spot of land because it's out of the water. Most of the chanterelles that I found are really, really small, and I had brought one and laid it up here yesterday. I think I initially mashed it with these boots probably last night, or either Roscoe knocked it off hopping over. But either way, it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna cut this camera off. We're gonna do some scouting around later on. Making me a bit of coffee here. I just poured the grounds over in the water, set it there. Take me a stick. Get my coffee down in there. Now what I'll do is when it gets made, I get a little cold water, pour in there on it, and that'll shock them grounds, make them grounds settle down to the bottom. And I've got a filter in another bag over there. I can actually, once that's done, if I wanted to filter it into something else. But now I didn't bring my little small cup. I was trying to cut down on what extra stuff I had, so I thought I could probably drink it right out of that. I've got a pair of leather gloves over here. I better go ahead and get them out where I can get that on and off. You want to make sure you bring a pair of leather gloves with you, because if you handling these skillets and different things, setting them on the fire, you might need it, you might not. Not to mention they handy for chopping wood and different other things if your hands is tender. We're gonna make us some grits too. Get one of our skillets out here. And what I did is I've got some instant grits that I brought with me. I actually have some Tony's and some salt and some seasoning containers. Just showing you a little of what's in there. And in my little kit here is a little pot and pan. I'm thinking about getting me a new one though. I think I want me a little deeper pot. And of course this is good enough for one meal. If you eat more than that at one setting, you're doing some eating. But I want the one nesting cup and all, where I have a cup to bring with me most of the time. That's instant oatmeal. And this is instant buttered grits. That's what we're looking for right there. What I'm gonna do, that fire is getting hot. My jug of water here. Get me a little water. This is one of the things I like about my knife right here. Let me do something with my coffee though before I just tipping over that way. I'm scared I'm gonna pour it out in there. Set it down right over here. And see that gut hook on there works good for, well, I knocked dirt off in my grits. Works good for handling that pot at a long distance. Keeps me from Boy, that's hot. Get my spatula. I made this. I made it out of a piece of oak, and it's just a small spatula. I could make one easy enough, but I rubbed this down with some vegetable oil. Doing some breakfast cooking right here. Barefooted on the swamp, in the swamp is the way to be. I like to be able to take my shoes off, cause them boots I got them wet just right straight. They not waterproof anymore. Most guys' boots ain't waterproof. I was trying to dry them out. That is a boiling. That is a boiling. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, because that's really black. But because them grounds in there, that cold water, shock that. I guarantee them grounds right now go straight down to the bottom and settle on that bottom. Now if you slosh it around drinking it, you're going to get them back in there, but we're going to let that cool a little bit there for a while. Now what that is a nesting cup off of my old canteen. This came off my dad's World War II, or not World War II, but Vietnam War pack. This is the stuff they carried during Vietnam during those times. Little actually prior to Vietnam. I think it was in the 60s when he was in the Guard. He never actually went to battle, but that canteen goes in there. It hooks on my other pack, and I've got the backpack and all that goes with it. I don't do a thing. I'll take it out and let you see it sometime. But anyway, this is the cup off the bottom of it, and this is the canteen. I've got it full of water. I drank out of it, but I fixed me a rope strap to where I could, if I just take off without anything hiking around looking, I can take the water with me. Canoe right there, water. You looking through that smoke, but I've been watching the water move. Now I didn't catch not any fish yesterday, but now I didn't fish hard very long. I paddled in here and then I went to work setting my camp up, and I actually paddled upstream a ways. We ready to go. Loaded up, fixing to paddle out of here. We rearranged, put the cooler in the back. Engineered this canoe up with this seat to make it a solo canoe. 16-foot canoe is a little long for this swift water, and in this swamp with a lot of stuff to go around. I wish I had a 14-foot. Probably gonna get me one before long, or either build one. So we're gonna conclude this video. We fixing to paddle out. Y'all have a good one. Remember, the best way to do things is the way you like to do it. Tell them all goodbye, Roscoe.